Since childhood, Kevin has been surrounded by wealth and luxury. His parents made good money, but unfortunately, they could not pay enough attention to their son, so he had a nanny. The boy loved her very much, and when he grew up, he decided to leave her as a housekeeper in his house. And although Mrs. Taylor was no longer young, she could always help Kevin with wise advice, especially when it came to his relationships with women. The fact is that Kevin was shy because he considered himself unattractive. However, after a while, he met a girl named Nancy, who immediately saw him as a potential groom and did everything to marry him. And although everyone told Kevin that Nancy only needed his money, he refused to believe it. Then two of his close friends who recently opened a detective agency convinced him to draw up at least a marriage contract. Then Kevin had no idea that in a couple of years he would thank his friends for insisting on this precaution. Nancy often took large sums of money from her husband and never said what she spent it on. At first, Kevin did not pay attention to this, but after a large amount of money disappeared from his locker, he started suspecting something. Friends suggested that he put Nancy under surveillance, and it turned out that the girl had an affair. Kevin divorced Nancy, but he wasn't single for long. Soon he married Darcy, and although she was different from Nancy, Mrs. Taylor treated her with distrust. So did Kevin's favorite Labrador named Spike. Kevin did not like this situation and installed CCTV cameras in the house. It turned out that Darcy hated the dog. She was constantly screaming at the pet and was beating it. Kevin could not stay with such a woman and divorced for the second time. Then the young man realized that he needed to follow Mrs. Taylor's advice, who told him not to rush into relations and first get to know the girls better. One day when he parked outside his restaurant, he saw a waitress secretly taking something out of the kitchen and putting it in a box in the street. Coming closer, he saw a small kitten who was eating the food she brought to him. The next day, after finishing her shift, the waitress named April went to the box, but it was empty, which made the girl burst into tears. "Are you looking for something?" she heard a sudden voice. She turned around and saw a homeless man holding the kitten. "I took it to keep it warm." April smiled and said that she picked up a kitten on the street. A minute later, she returned from the restaurant with a plate of food. "Take it, don't worry, I paid for it." The man thanked for the food and shared it with the kitten. The next day, not seeing a kitten or a homeless person near the restaurant, the girl got upset. Then the administrator called her, saying that her boss was waiting for her. But when she entered the office, she was very surprised to see the man to whom she had given her food the day before, and the kitten in his arms. She smiled shyly, and Kevin thought he had finally found a woman who wouldn't only think about his money. After half a year, the couple got married, and this time Kevin's marriage turned out to be happy.